Hello and welcome you crazy people, my name is Jay and today we're going to look at the value that you get from the new Star Wars Legion battle forces. Spoiler alert, they're pretty good. I do have a question mark about the Imperial one, but let me show you my sexy spreadsheet and then we'll talk from there. So I've made this spreadsheet, which I will put a link to it in the description below. It's literally just a list of everything that's in it and the recommended retail price of those products if you were to buy them individually. Now there are a couple of questions there because you can't buy some of them individually, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So just to explain the list, obviously we've got the 4 faction battle forces. I've not included the Shadow Collective because that's just not on my radar right now. I just want to talk about the core 4 factions. Here you've obviously got everything that's in it, you know, for each faction. The highlighted in red means it's in a core starter box. Now that might not mean anything to you, but it might mean you might not want to buy these if you already have the core starter box. So let's go through the list. So for the Rebels, I said this is in dollars by the way, and I got it literally from the Asmodee shop. So it's a big long list for the Rebels. You get Leia, you get Chewie, you get 4 Rebel Vectrons, you get 2 units of Tauntauns, you get an FD laser cannon, and you get R2-D2 and C-3PO. Now there's a little bit of a question mark about R2-D2 and C-3PO because they're in the down crashed escape pod or whatever it's called, which is $45, but you need to get that if you wanted those characters. So it's actually weirdly a good value for money way of getting those characters without getting that crash pod. But the value of it is insane. It's literally everything that isn't in the starter set. So if you did get the starter set and you got this, you'd have a massive force. Like the Rebel Veterans, technically you'll actually be able to field 8 core units with that, which you may argue is one more than you need, but at least then you get the extra value of the battle force itself. And there's really, I've got positive things to say about everything in there. It's just absolutely great value. If you included the crashed escape pod thing, I said the value of it is $310, but you're paying $150 for savings of $160. Pretty damn good. Now, a little thing that I'm not going to talk about here, if you were to buy just one of these battle forces and you're a new player, keep in mind you would either need the essentials kit or you would need the core set for your respective genre. I don't know what else you would call it, era, either the Imperials and the Rebels or the Clone War box. So I've just put that there, but obviously you might not be interested in that. But then we come to the first tricky one, which is the Imperials. Now for Vader, obviously this is actually going to be Commander Vader. It does not look like you get the operative Vader cards in that, so don't expect that. It looks like the cards that you get are actually the default command cards. That's what sort of makes the number look a little bit weird. But just for value purposes, I've put $20. Presumably you could get him on eBay if you really wanted for that, if you weren't buying him through this pack or the clone set. Then you get 3 units of Snowtroopers, 2 units of speeder bikes and an AT-ST. Now the speeder bikes, one of them you get in a core set. Obviously you can buy those individually, so the value of that actually is just the box cost. And right from the top of it there, we can see the value of that one's $230 and the battle force itself is $150. It's only a saving of $80. But for me, the snow troopers aren't very good at the minute, so I wouldn't necessarily be rushing to buy this battle force unless you're maybe like a completely new player and you fancy getting that and the essentials. Or I actually would still possibly recommend getting this and the core set, because then you get the stormtroopers, you had 3 units of speeder bikes if you wanted it, and you'd end up with a duplicate Vader, which wouldn't be the end of the world, and you'd have the AT-ST. So, you know, I would maybe still think this and the core set is still good value. It's just the one I would be least chomping at the bit to get if I was like interested in these models. Then we'll jump onto the Separatists. Now this one's a little bit even more interesting in terms of value and core set, because technically I have this one as being the most value, like the most bang for your buck, but it also has the most amount of units that are in the core set. In the core set you get Grievous and you get 2 B1s, so that's why I've highlighted 2. And you get a unit of droidicas. But in this set you would get 4 B1s, Magna Guard, 2 units of droidicas, which I'm presuming is actually 8 models, and an AAT. Now again though, actually I think this combined with the core set still makes sense, because you would then have 6 units of B1s, which that is what you can field, and that is what some people will field. Bit of a pain in the bum to assemble, but that's all fine. Yes, you'd end up with a duplicate Grievous, but I've done the same thing of just estimating his value on his own. You probably don't, I don't think many people are rocking 3 units of droidicas, but maybe I'm wrong. The Magna Guard, apparently you only want 1 unit, so that makes sense, and the AAT is just solid. So all in all, I think the Separatist one's pretty damn good as well, as long as you are interested in having that many B1s and stuff like that. If you're already playing the Separatist, then I don't think that's all that hot, because you probably already have most of it. And then finally, let's talk about the Galactic Republic. Now this is a set, again, like the Rebels, I'm noticing the theme here, the good guys seem to have the best boxes, but you know, whatever. Maybe not in terms of value on this one, but in terms of the fact that this is all stuff that's not in your core set. So obviously you get Anakin, 2 phase 2s, so if you actually weren't able to find phase 2s, like I wanted to play clones at an event or something, but I could not find phase 2s, so then I just never bothered playing them. And then you get 3 units of ARC Troopers, which, you know, pretty damn decent value there, and you get an AT-AT. Now the value of that one, as I said, isn't amazingly high, it's only just above the Imperials, but the key thing is that it's everything that's not in the Clone Wars set. So if you got the Clone Wars set and you got this, well, you'd have 2 units of phase 1s, 2 units of phase 2s, all the arcs you could want, an AT-AT and the Bark Speeder, and you'd have Obi-Wan and Anakin. Like, just an all-round solid list. Well, not a list, just an all-round solid collection. So yeah, that's the spreadsheet. I will put a link to it in the description below. I know it's maybe not the sexiest thing to look at, but I just felt like it would be a decent way of showing what I was trying to illustrate and putting it all together in a way that we can see it. And if you want to manipulate it or check it yourself, then that's fair enough. Like, for example, if I included everything from the Rebels that I didn't have, like I collected the Clone Wars set and a little bit more, I don't have the Rebel Veterans or the Tauntauns, but if I did, that would cost me $200, but this Battle Force is actually only $150. So weirdly, if I ever do want to play Rebels, this set actually still makes sense, and then maybe I could offload these on eBay or something like that. You might find that if you're a new player, you might be able to find a layer on eBay or something soon, because maybe people are going to put them on eBay because maybe they've already got them. So that's it. I tried to make a sexy spreadsheet. I don't know if I necessarily succeeded there, but the value of that I think is pretty damn decent. I would have liked to have seen a bit more consistency. I sort of wished that they put a bit more thought into it, in that they definitely excluded stuff from the core set so you could combine the two for every faction. I think that would have been perfect. Now, I realise some of that isn't possible because these are battle forces and they're actually themed, but for example, for the Imperial one, you probably could have had Veers instead of Vader, right? And instead of the speeder bikes, you probably could have given them the FD cannon. Like, that would have been fine. It's like a the scene in it, basically. Now, Separatists, that's obviously a little bit more tricky. Instead of Grievous, you could have had one of the droid commanders or something like that, but other than that, you would have probably have had your hands a little bit tied. And then the other two are just great value anyway, so they just don't include anything from the core set. So definitely, if you're Rebels or Galactic, core set, Battle Force, beautiful. Imperial Separatist, you need to maybe think about if it's what you want. If you're a completely new player, probably still good value though. That's it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I do hope you have a most beautiful, beautiful day. Goodbye.